So just relax and just be where you are without trying to do anything special. Just listen to sound, feel your body sitting here, the mood of the mind, whatever's there, just become awake to this moment as you feel it, as you know it. And notice as soon as you say that to yourself, you'll notice some silence. Try listening to sound. Notice how sound is changing. Just let sound come to you, receptive listening. And the awareness is quiet, receptive, silent. So there's the sound of the outer world, and there's the silence of awareness. So keep establishing that as the standard, awaken knowing. And then I would say use two words. Either is good. Trust. What do you trust in? Trust in awareness. Or wait. Wait in awareness. Wait for what? Just wait. So in meditation, we're not trying to look for anything. We're actually just observing the way things are and finding language which allows that kind of witnessing, knowing whatever the mood is, whatever the body's feeling, whatever the external environment is producing. So if you use sound, listen, and no matter what the sound is, the awareness knows. It'll be that awareness. And keep establishing that as the standard. And then trust. This is good enough. Or wait. And if there's a lot of turmoil from the day's activities, you can know that. It's not pleasant, maybe, but just trust and awareness. Just wait. Don't try to fix it. Don't have to do a special practice. So waiting, knowing, trusting, receptive awareness. And just try that for half an hour. You, you get caught up with memories and so on, but when you remember, listen, awaken, trust, wait, see what happens if you try that for half an hour. Okay, let's stop there.
Lumpur, let request for Dhamma talk.
Thank you, William.
Brahma Chaloka Dipati Sahampati Kata Dalianan Divaram Ayachata Saanti Dasata Parajak Kajatika Dese tu Dhammam Anukampimam Pajam.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namassa. Hello, everyone. Hope you're well. Nice to be with you. Had a lovely day yesterday, both meteorologically, but also humanly. We're involved with two Afghani families who were mentioned, I think, last time, and we had a dana at their place some months ago, and then they came to the monastery yesterday and offered dana to the bhikkhus. That might be a first. I'm not sure. And they, because they're a family of doctors who fled Afghanistan when the whole thing collapsed. Was it a year ago or something like that? When the foreign troops pulled out and they were left stranded there. We're doing a lot of humanitarian work, and one of the gentlemen is a director of a hospital, surgeon. Anyway, they made it to Canada, and we've been trying to help them a little bit. And Flora and Gwyneth came yesterday. There was a caravan of 3 cars, and they came in the morning to offer dana. And there were the little children and the teenagers and the parents and the grandmother. And the grandmother, I guess she'd be about my age, maybe a bit younger. Sort of, yeah. Anyway, lovely lady. And she said that this is the first time since leaving Afghanistan that she felt happy. Did I got that right? Yeah, she said that, which is, oh, I mean, talk about happy. That's such a beautiful reflection. And Amrit Siri said that she hadn't enjoyed her, even like enjoying eating. It has been a year since she enjoyed having a meal. And she's diabetic, and so she doubled up on the food this time. So she had a good old time. But that that possibility of human beauty, this kind of amazing thing that I mean, who was happier, us or them? Or like when they express the gratitude to us, we say, "Oh, thank you." Oh, thank you. Everyone's saying thank you. That's how we Buddhists are, aren't we? So someone offers food to the monks, as the monks say thank you. No, no, don't say thank you. Thank you, Bhante. There's this kind of competition to not say thank you, because we're all terribly grateful, aren't we, to be involved in human culture in this kind of way. It's very so we walked them around the monastery. We took them down to the lake, and the elderly lady, she drove down to the lake. We sat by the lake for a while, and they were just in heaven. Just they're really happy. So we hope to create more opportunities like that. And then we have a Syrian family in Perth. These folk are living in Ottawa. They're in good circumstances, and they're struggling hugely to adapt. The kids are adapting very quickly. And then we have a Syrian family in Perth itself. So it's a mom with 6 kids, and the husband has a cancer, and he wants to do the painting. So we've been trying to support them too in little ways. And so there's a mom with 6 kids, and her husband has cancer. I mean, just in a new country. And so I think Michelle is hiring the husband to do some painting. He wants to start a paint business, is that it? You'll probably teach him how to paint, I suppose. Something like that. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing them. And then with the Amazon delivery guy, the Amazon guy who is delivering, we see him, same guy, I think, from time to time. And I finally asked him, so he has a heavy accent. Where are you from? Iraq. And another country that suffered so much. And he was in the diplomatic corps, and just engaging him and saying, yeah, government's not a very good place. I said, yeah, but you can be a good place in your heart. And of course, he touched his heart. And so we can, it's a crazy world. And if you read too much of, people just can read all these things and get very upset about things which maybe you should get upset about. But also we can do good things person by person. That seems much more useful to me. The larger things are somehow the world's karma or whatever, but we can engage with, and we all know this. You don't, it's just that dana, generosity is a huge part of the spiritual life, isn't it? That I can, I can talk to a delivery guy who probably just gets ignored. Where's my package? And the package is more important, but I can pause and I can say, hey, you're a human being and I'm a human being, and how are you doing? And where's your mom? And I know where my mom is, and that kind of stuff. And that's not some kind of meta technique, isn't it? It's being a good human being. And so awakening the heart in these very human ways is a way of getting out of our selfishness. Again, this is my grandmother told me this, but perhaps it's worth remembering that in the bad stories of our world problems, there are a lot of very good individual stories. So my friends in Ottawa who work in refugee resettlement or social care, they just work one person at a time, one family at a time, and they have a great effect. They have a great effect, yeah, on individual lives. And that's, of course, one of the ways we can move away from the despair of larger political issues or larger ecological issues, because those are bigger than us. But that constant human interchange, and that I think it's a kind of listening practice, isn't it? That I meet someone, and my first interest is not me, it's them. And who are you, and how do you feel about life, and how's it going? And would you like a bubbly or something? This is a very human and simple thing. And um, so I've been, one of the metaphors of the spiritual life, which I've always liked, are metaphors around craft, because I do enjoy weaving and furniture making and things like that. Um, and one of the things I was just noticing myself do this, and I often talk about it, but in terms of the craft of the heart, I I thought I'd just describe it in a more detailed way. I made a I made a shrine for my mom when she died in 2011, and now I light a candle. I have these tea candles, and I keep it lit all the time. So whenever I see the tea candles out, I light it. And I've just noticed how I've developed that. So sometimes I'll light the tea candle and then go on and do something else, like I'm supposed to do it as a habit. But then as soon as I do that, I say, no, 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 stop. Look at the picture and feel your heart. Stop. Look at the picture, feel your heart. Now, I've been doing it since mom died, so that the feeling in the heart has remained very vibrant towards her and towards others. I haven't allowed it to atrophy in time by forgetting about her. Not that I would have. So I've just stimulated that. Or if I look at the candle's not lit, and I'm off to do something else. No, no, no. The candle's more important. Light the candle now. Don't light it later. Do it now. It's not some kind of heavy imperative. It's just, no, just do it now. And then I light the candle. And then I look at the picture. And then I bring the mind to silence and bring the mind to heart. Now, I probably do that 10 times a day. Probably. I do. I use a lot of candles. IKEA is very happy with my business. But imagine what that does. What that does, it constantly evokes something very simple, something very good: silence, stillness, gratitude, compassion, kindness, all those things wrapped up into a nice package. And then the stopping, the awakening, the stopping, the awakening. And then I enter into the ordinariness of life. Um, so that to me is a kind of a craft in terms of, like, I was watching Ajahn sharpen the chisels. He's making some beautiful furniture just now. Oh, these exquisite Japanese benches for the new Dhamma hall made of cherry and walnut, and these lovely hardwoods we have. And just watching him, because he was making mortises for double and triple tendons. It's quite a complex bit of joinery. So chisels have to be very, very sharp because the tolerances are very small. And there he is, he's just like nice and peaceful, just sharpening his chisels. Lovely, lovely. And his work is beautiful. So that in itself is meditative. But as a metaphor, like doing things throughout the day, which are the craft of the heart, the craft of awakening, is not some kind of formulated practice. It's life, it's living. It's just like in the Zen school, I think we've all read, what is meditation? It's chopping wood and carrying water. You know what I mean? If you have a kuti, you'll know what I mean. And the ordinariness of awakening, so just kind of knowing what you're doing, knowing that you're walking to the washroom, knowing that you're making a cup of coffee, or knowing that you're carrying the garbage out for the day, knowing that you're in a traffic jam. And that is a craft, isn't it? It's like the intentionality of our life to awaken. Awakening is not complex, and it's not intellectual, and it doesn't require any kind of particular mood. You can awaken to feeling down or depressed, or you can awaken to feeling elated and inspired. But it is a witnessing to the movement of consciousness rather than an attachment and being lost in the movement of consciousness. And without the awakening, you don't really have awareness. You have belief, you have opinion, you have ego, thought, just running on and creating a strong sense of self and other. So how, like, in your own life, how do you, like, if you talk about right effort, like, how do you make intentions? And what kind of intentions might you make throughout the day? How does intention work? So for me, the awakened mind is obviously the primal intention. What's it like now? Well, it's like this. And then I use metaphors like background and foreground. Now, if I don't make that intention, and I don't really do it, then I won't really awaken. I'll understand, I'm sure. We all understand it. It's not so difficult to awaken to the fact that I'm getting angry at someone, or till they awaken to the fact that I'm drinking a cup of tea. And that's not so very complex. What's difficult is the sustaining of that I would say simplicity. It's just sustaining the simple witnessing of the way things are, and then not complicating it with all kinds of other matter. The complications are habitual, the self-judgments, the projections into the future, the regrets, the memories, all of that. Memory, memory, you can awaken. You can know that, oh, this is a memory of being hurt. And you can see the narratives that run from that and say, well, that's a memory. And that's a thought. So you're constantly, oh, what you're doing is you're remembering to awaken, aren't you? And this is, I think, what sati is about. It's remembering something about the present moment. Now, it's different than just having an opinion, like remembering, like if you're running on with an opinion about politics or about your auntie or your uncle, or you're criticizing someone, that's a mood of the mind. That's a construct. Awareness is not a construct. Awareness knows. So in this little meditation we just did, I said, trust, trust and awareness, trust in waiting. Waiting is really, really interesting. It's really interesting. I've kind of come on that word the last half year. I've been teaching a retreat in a week's time. We have a beautiful setting here in Ottawa. We do this retreat every year. It's a small group of friends who we know each other very, very well. But I thought, what am I going to teach on this retreat? I don't know what to say. They all know everything already. I'll say, wait. Now, they might not feed me if that's all they get. I might have to come back to the monastery. But have you ever noticed that? Like yesterday, I was with our Afghani friends. This caravanserai of Afghani friends was late. There was some traffic jam on the way. A farmer's vehicle actually in Perth was stopping traffic in Sunday. So we were waiting at the front entrance and sitting on the bench and just looking at the workers working on the new Dhamma hall and listening to this or that. And it's so peaceful. Waiting is so peaceful because you're not trying to achieve anything. You're not trying to accomplish anything. Now, obviously, if you're waiting for the plane to come in and it's a lightning lightning storm and you can't travel and so on, yeah. But have you ever tried that? Like in meditation, so often in meditation, people are like doing stuff. What practice should I do? Yeah, that's okay. I should do the breath, or I should do. But there's always a sense of the doer, isn't there? Now, I'm assuming that all of us are kind of familiar with the Four Noble Truths and the basic teaching. If not, I think you better study that because I'm not good at beginner's teaching. But I think all of us have a lot of study behind us. We've done a lot of practices. What works? What endures in our life? For me, what endures is when I trust in awareness. Now, if I can trust in awareness when I'm feeling upset about something, what I find is that I don't want to trust in that. I want to do something about the upsetness, the anxiety, or the annoyance, or whatever. I want to fix it, or I want to blame it, or I want to distract it. Well, that's not really awakening to the feeling of the disturbance. But if I awaken to disturbance and I can, that's always done. That's why I say that's the prime practice. Disturbance feels like this, annoyance feels like this. If I can do that, and then watch in that moment of awakening, what do I do in the next moment? Do I then grasp some idea of what I should now do? Do I start analyzing it? Do I start judging it? Do I get sit in self-doubt? Or do I just know it in the spaciousness of awareness? That seems to be very hard to do. Seems to be quite difficult to do. And yet it's actually quite simple. So, but if I make that suggestion to myself, wait, now that suggestion then creates what? For me, it creates a kind of atmosphere of knowing what I'm doing. So I say, wait. And then I notice, well, actually, no, I want to fix this. And I notice some tension. I want to get rid of it. Or I'm judging myself. Oh, that's what's going on. Because now I'm waiting, I'm allowing, or I'm receptive. Mapo Samhita uses receptive awareness, doesn't it? Kind of this capacity to listen, and be receptive, rather than go out into the objects of experience. Someone was asking about, do I know any Buddhist psychologists? I do, but I don't really know about Buddhist psychology except from a Buddhist standpoint. And the point of Buddhist psychology is transcendence. It's not about becoming necessarily a better person, although you do become a better person. But the personality itself is an object. Thoughts and feelings, they're objects. But what is like, do you have in your spiritual practice, do you have does the word transcendence resonate at all? Or what do you mean by spirituality? Or is Buddhism simply a psychological methodology in which you're trying to constantly become a better person? And that's not bad, but isn't there some kind of limitation to that? Isn't there a very sense of me being inadequate and then doing this, that, and the other to become adequate? Does that really answer the question of transcendence? Well, maybe to some extent. If I'm just in a rage all the time, I say, yeah, I've got to get my anger act together or whatever. But most of the people I find pretty they're pretty chill. They're good people. They live more. They have generous hearts and all that. But sometimes the kind of problems that I find people face, oh, at my age or whatever, the kind of self-doubt, self-definition, or what should I do, or am I doing the right practice, or should I do more? And it's a kind of niggling sense of a self, where awareness isn't a sense of a self, is it? When you listen to sound, if I listen to sound now, it's consciousness and sound. I can't, is there a third thing called me? Do it. Do this with me. Listen. So is there sound and a me and a listening, or is it just knowing sound? If there is a me, can you tell me how big it is? Like, is it 6'4" or 2'8"? Or if there is a me, is it feminine? Like, and I do this right now, okay? Like, not just as a, like right now, is the sense of what? Just listen. Is there a sense of me? If there is, then you would know it as an object. Describe it for me. It's Afghani. Mhm. It's not Afghani. It's Buddhist. Huh? Is it Buddhist? They're like listening to sound. Is that Buddhist? It's not. None of those things fit, do they? So where is the sense of me? Where is the sense of me? Well, I miss. What's he talking about anyway? There's a sense of me. Why doesn't he talk about the Four Noble Truths? There's a sense of me. Thought, judgment. Or am I understanding what he's saying? Am I listening in the correct way? Analysis, thinking, self. If you drop the self thinking, what happens? Well, you have this. Is that sufficient? Well, yes and no. It's insufficient to the craving mind. Craving mind will find that insufficient because it's used to objects, distraction, doing, judging, blah, blah, blah. So the third noble truth of abandoning craving is just listening. And then if you do that and you put in language like trust and awareness or wait, if you use that kind of language, at least I find if I use that kind of language, then I can see where the mind is seeking an object, wanting something or wanting to get rid of something. doubting. But if I can know that, oh, wanting feels this way, then I begin to travel the pathway of the abandonment of wanting, nirodha, cessation, the end of wanting. And that is synonymous with the transcendent, nibbana. So if I never get into a kind of a posture of witnessing and waiting, then I can always be trying to do things in meditation, but it's always a me doing something to get something or to get rid of something. There's always a kind of striving, which is tanha. Vice versa, if I never stop, if I'm just busy all the time, then of course that's not going to work either. I'm just busy doing stuff. So we do meditate. We do try to create retreats. These are very, very valuable times of silence and times of stopping, times of stopping. But in the stopping, is there still a doing? Do you ever really stop and listen? And then if you do, I find if I do that, I constantly touch the piece of the background. And then the foreground is known more and more. Now, if that would be a kind of thing that you agreed upon, if you thought that was logical and rational, so what if you did that every day, 10 times a day? You remembered that model, that attitude, that kind of awakening. If you did that 10 times a day, well, probably if you did it for a month, 10 times a day, it's like this, then probably in the second month of doing it, you notice 12 times a day, right? It would have a potential for increased persistence or whatever the word is. You'd be more aware, not because you're forcing yourself to just notice things in a kind of controlled way. No, but because you're making the suggestion, awaken. It's like this, awaken. So it's similar to the candle. I use an object, I do the activity mindfully, stop, I feel the heart. Now, obviously at work, you can't light candles to your mom. Because, or maybe you can, I don't know what kind of work you have, but it's just a model or just a kind of idea of how do we bring in stopping and awakening throughout the day. And those are things we each of us have to figure out through our own use of language, through maybe our own use of imagery, of mantra, of meditation sessions. But consider if you don't do that, let's say you feel self-disparagement for some reason, and you don't awaken to the self-disparagement. Let's say it comes up once, twice. Let's say it comes up 10 times a day, the self-disparagement, self-criticism. And then you're not attentive to it. Well, if it's come up 10 times in the day for a month, it's probably come up 12 times a day for next month. So there's a price to pay. That's the law of karma. You don't get away with heedlessness. You can't just say, well, I didn't know. No, well, it doesn't work that way. So there's an urgency. There's an urgency to wake up to the way things are, not just to get rid of them. So I remember when, like in Chithurst, there was a lot of, we were kind of new to England and we were looking at all kinds of psychological literature and different ways that people were, and different problems that culture had we didn't even understand, like PTSD and things like that, and new things, and maybe that was even later, but the 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 tendency was like I remember Lumpur Sumedho saying, don't make yourself like, don't say to yourself, I have an anger problem. Don't make a self around the anger. Deal with it, be conscious of it, but trust in awareness. So there's a difference from saying I should be angry to anger feels like this, it's like this. So again, if I don't pay attention and awaken to the way things are, then the whole habits of mine just keep running on and on. But we're not getting rid of them. We're strengthening awareness. through the knowing of them. So one of our guests, if I may say, who is here now, was talking about his own challenges of say, anxiety, which I've suffered a lot from. And the idea that anxiety is the problem, no, anxiety is the teacher. Uh, 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 Awakening to anxiety is the method. So it's actually the very thing that requires mindfulness and will make you more mindful and will be a liberating factor. Whereas if you think I've got an anxiety problem, I have to get rid of my anxiety and da 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 da. If it's clinical, I suppose, yeah, I don't know. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about just your ordinary garden variety and nervous system that we all have as human beings. Well, if I awaken to anxiety and I trust in awareness, and you have to trust in awareness, well, like in that case, do it for a year. And this is the scope of the practice. It's not like it's going to all of a sudden change. These habits are very powerful, and some of them are very painful. It's very hard to be aware of them, very painful, very hard to be aware of them. So sometimes you can just do it a little bit, and then you need distraction or whatever. But the more I suggest, the more you trust in awareness, the more awareness becomes dominant, and the objects of sense become less dominant. Then you can participate in the objective world in a much different way. Generosity flows easily. Appreciation of beauty flows easily. Compassion is just very natural. Peacefulness is always there. It's always available. Kindness flows naturally from awareness, from this kind of mystery of knowing the way things are. The most simple kind of thing. So I think I'll leave it there for your consideration. Any
Handam
questions?
Dhamma Kataya Sadhu Karam Tatamase Sadhu 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 Anumodami.
Any questions for anyone?
Thank you, Longpo. Thank you for your gentle reminder to stop, to wait, and to awaken. So now we'd like to stop and wait and ask if anyone has got any questions to please put up their hand and click on the raise hand button, and we'll invite you to unmute and to participate in this discussion. Everyone is just waiting, pausing. No questions? Oh yes, we have one from Flora.
Hi, Flora.
Can you unmute yourself?
There we go.
Okay. Ajahn,
Hi, Flora.
I just want to pick up where you left off about the visit of the Afghan families as their driver and co-sponsor, and to reflect on the extraordinary exchange that you had with them when they offered dana at their home on the place of heart in Buddhism and in Islam. And I thought there was such an expression of, mutual love and respect and understanding. And in the end, it comes down to heart. It was a very, very beautiful sharing of experience. And I think that also created the atmosphere for yesterday, which was an amazing day for everybody, but particularly for them, to be in an atmosphere of such caring and love and warmth and respect. It was very, very special. And I know it made a huge difference for them to feel welcomed in this way. So
And
a wonderful sharing.
Flora, we were all buzzing. We were all on a high. Even Bruno was high.
Everyone was buzzing on the way back to Ottawa too.
I'll bet. What was
So
interesting that the parents, you could see the parents weren't like dogs. I don't know, because you can imagine, I don't know what dogs are like in Afghanistan, but the kids, of course, they were curious. And Bruno is so we have a Bernese Mountain Dog that is our greeter. He greets people at the door. Very friendly, beautiful dog. And the kids came up, and you see they didn't know what to do with the dog, but Bruno was very available. That was lovely. That was really, really
it
lovely.
was. It
Yeah.
was. And I think everybody relaxed with Bruno,
Yes.
with the same size as one of the children.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
thank you, Flora.
But I often reflect on what it must be like for people to have to leave their home under
Oh,
duress, persecution, and then to try to reestablish their lives in another country. And I think these people are really a wonderful example of how that's
they're
done.
wonderful. Yeah. Because I was talking to the surgeon, Khalid. Is it Khalid?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. And he was saying that he's the director of the hospital. He would do five or six surgeries a day, and anything, whether it was pediatric trauma, war trauma, or cesarean, or appendectomy. I mean, he said he could do it all. And now he's 52, and he's going to be the most, in some sense, the most challenged because right,
indeed.
he's going to be the slowest to learn English, and
Yes.
he's had the most status, and everyone else, like kids, will be learning English. They'll be moving on. Imal is doing quite well. He's got a car. I think he's the one we really got to keep an eye on. So you know what I'm going to do? I we
Also a
took him
doctor,
into
by the way.
that. Yeah.
There are three
I
doctors in the family.
three doctors, but I thought with Khalid, I brought him into the woodworking shop, and he was gaga. I mean, he really liked it. So you know what I'm going to try to do? I'm going to try to bring him for a weekend, and have him make some furniture. I
Oh,
think
wonderful.
he'd be great. He'd be really skilled at it. I do this with friends sometimes. I try.
Well, he's
So
very fortunate then.
we'll see how it goes.
He
Well,
also loves to garden.
he loves to garden. Okay. Anyway, we'll work on that. But thank you
Thank you
for bringing
so
him
much
out,
for your
Flora.
time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have one question from Inka. Inka, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, thanks, Peter. Hello, Long Paul. Good
Hi.
evening on your side. I do
Inka,
have one.
can you look this other way? Your camera.
Oh, okay, sorry, my camera is over here. Yeah. So my question is regarding to the awareness and our state of mind at the moment, because I notice sometimes my friends and or including myself, when we are aware that we are sad or we are very angry, right? We can't get rid of it. Like we aware, we know that the state of mind is very negative, is very unpleasant or even unwholesome. But it's just like a vicious cycle. The more we aware that we are angry, the more that we can't get rid of it. And seems like the awareness over there is just making our heart more and more deep and heavier. Would you like, do you have any recommendation or any things that you can suggest us to do at the moment to keep our heart lighter so that the awareness doesn't bring us down, but actually bringing us lighter and happier? Thank you.
Are you are you conversant with the Four Noble Truths?
Sorry?
Are you conversant with the Four Noble Truths?
Conversant as in?
Are you well read on the Four Noble Truths?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah. And what's the third noble truth?
Letting go.
Or in another way?
Is Nirodha, so is what I understand is just letting go, don't grasp of it.
Can you expand on that? Like the factors? Okay,
Mm,
second noble truth. Can you do the second noble truth?
second noble truth
Sorry,
is
I'm not examining you. I just want to know how much you know.
understand, yeah. Second noble truth is craving. There are three cravings: craving of sensual pleasure, and becoming and not becoming.
Okay, and what's not becoming?
Not becoming as in you don't want to become something that you doesn't like.
I think that's a shallow interpretation of that. Try trying to get rid of
Mm.
as an interpretation. And do you remember the Pali of that?
Vibhavataha.
Vibhavatan,
Yeah.
Vibhavatanha. What if you were to translate that as trying to get rid of? Okay,
So I translate the Vibhavataha to try to get rid of.
okay. So take that. So then in the arising of an emotion, if it's negative, how does that relate to the second noble truth?
Okay, I see where you're coming from. I want to get rid of the
Okay.
feeling. Yeah.
So if you're using the Four Noble Truths, then you have to diagnose the problem correctly, right? And the problem is not the emotion. The problem is the not wanting of the emotion. Are you right?
Okay.
So as let's say anger comes up, that anger is conditioned culturally in many, many ways. Someone insults you, your your father suppressed you. You know, there's all kinds of ways these emotions come out of us. So once they're triggered, they are definitely unpleasant and negative. But what is the pathway for their cessation is the question. And the pathway for their cessation is that you no longer self-identify with them, and you notice the difference. You notice the feeling of wanting to get rid of. Now, if you do that, and you're able to not engage in the thinking mind trying to get rid of them or blaming, and you know that anger is anger, then anger, like the word upadana, attachment, has a twofold meaning. It's fuel and attachment, upadana. So when you try to get rid of anger, you create the causes for more anger. When you are patient with anger and you know it as an object and no longer think you are the subject, then the causes for future anger are no longer being sowed, right? But the causes for the anger that comes up now were sowed previously in the last 10 years. As a child, something happened, right? At work, someone was oppressive and so on. So you have in you what we call in Pali, it's called anusaya or latent tendencies. And these latent tendencies get triggered by life. And when they're triggered and they're negative, of course, you want to get rid of them. Of course, you want to distract. Of course, you want to blame. And that's only human. And to some extent, it might work, but it won't ultimately work because it's still grasping craving. And that's what you have to figure out in your own practice, the desire to get rid of, as opposed to the arising of a natural phenomena called anger. Now you can see once you if that makes sense to you, it has to make sense. It can't just me be telling you to believe that. Once that makes sense, then you could see, well, maybe I have to witness quite a bit of anger, maybe rage, maybe who knows, depending on what's happened. So as the rage comes up or the anxiety comes up, you say, oh, wow, anger, strong anger today. And then you start to understand what metta bhavana is about. Metta bhavana is about allowing this to be just as it is. It's not about a substitution. So if you hate your neighbor, you keep the precepts and you don't kill them. It's a good idea. But then if you try to say, I love you, I love you, I love you to the neighbor, that is repression. That's not true. That's false. You know you don't. You know that hatred. So you have to actually welcome the hatred. Okay, hatred, you can stay here as long as you want. And that is so counterintuitive. And it seems like the wrong way to go. But it is the right way to go. But it's different than just hating someone. Like if I just say, I really hate that person, I hate them, and I'll never talk to them, that's attachment. And that's thinking. But actually saying, oh, this is strong energy. Hatred feels this way. And breathing and feeling in the body and being patient and walking up and down with it, that's mindfulness. If you do that, then, and you contemplate the Four Noble Truths around that, you start to get a lot of insight what we mean by vibhava tanha. The books say that, it's some abstract thing about not wanting to. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. You could say, well, I don't want to be reborn next lifetime, so I don't have any vibhava tanha. I'm done 2/3 of the problem. No, it's not that easy, right? So get back to, what could that actually mean? Or the craving to become. What does that mean? What does that mean in your own mind? Rather than I know what the Four Noble Truths say. They say this, this, and that. Take the Four Noble Truths again. Read Ajahn Sumedho's book on the Four Noble Truths. It's a nice, easy book. And then really contemplate what those three words mean in your mind, rather than some academic thing, because that's your liberation, is the Four Noble Truths. So then when you said non-attachment, you see, that was the party line, wasn't it? Third Noble Truths, party line, non-attachment, I know Buddhism. But that's not the contemptive mind is saying, well, I'm definitely suffering. That's for sure I'm suffering. What's the cause? And then you use that language. And this is what we mean by contemplation or reflection. We use the simple language of Four Noble Truths, but then we take it inwards. Why am I suffering? Well, because that guy's a creep. And he did this to me and he did that. No. Why am I suffering? Drop the storyline. Why am I suffering? Oh, I don't want anger. I don't want depression. I don't want fear. So then your whole practice is enriched. You become all these problems that we face, that's your laboratory. That's where you're going to learn about liberation. You're not just going to kind of meditate and not have problems, right? It's those very problems that are your teachers, obviously, has to be. So let's say, a person has a lot of anger and 50% of their emotions are anger. Well, if you understand anger, you'll understand 50% of freedom. But if you don't, right? So your very problems are your best teachers, or your necessary teachers that you got to learn from them, or they'll take over, if you see what I mean. So go back to the Four Noble Truths, read something more, not just the canonical commentarial stuff, but also go to a contemporary teacher like Lompo Sumedho or someone like that. Say, what do they mean by vibhava tanha? What do they mean by bhava tanha? What do they mean by kama tanha? And then internalize that. And then what you'll find is that then tanha, like you'll find that the witnessing of anger is the freedom from anger, even though the anger is there, because awareness is not angry. Awareness knows anger. That's the crucial step to liberation and transcendence. It's that anger is not who you are. This is an object. And that's why I talk about anatta. Not self is a weird thing to say. If you say there's no self, is that true? I mean, no self. You still get toothache, right? You still like milk in your coffee. It's still going on. So what's going on? Well, when you witness anger, you know that that's actually an object in awareness. And what is the awareness? I would say that's who you are, in a kind of a simplistic way. And once you understand that sense of, anger is not my real home, or judgment, it's that very awareness, then you're really on the path. Then you have more and more confidence. But quite often you have to work with vibhava tanha. I had vibhava tanha very much around anxiety and fear. I thought it was the fear that was the problem, or it was actually the vibhava. It took me a long time to see that. Once I began to see that, okay. So then I started to welcome fear. But that was quite a difficult process of teacher can tell me in 5 minutes, but my own, attachment, so on. That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, thank
You,
you, Ajahn.
you got some homework, eh?
It is very tough, but I'll do it. Yeah.
But you got no choice.
Yes. Yeah.
And
It's a
because
good
you're a
way.
reflective person,
Mhm.
your only option is enlightenment.
Okay, great.
Because
Sounds
you'll
great.
suffer until you're enlightened.
Yeah. Okay. At least it's not that despair. Thank you, Ajahn.
There you go. Okay. Very nice. Good question. Thank you.
Good luck,
Good question.
Okay. So there are no more questions, Lumpur.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no.
There are two more.
Malik, yeah.
Are you good with two more questions, Lumpur?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, Malika, can you unmute yourself?
Hi, Malika.
Hi, Ajahn.
The hair growing back?
Yes. Ajahn, this is about desire. Like,
Uh-huh.
you had to give the phone away in a monastery, in a retreat situation. And is it considered as a form of discipline or act of renunciation because you're giving up an object of sensual desire, kama tanha, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's a way to,
yeah,
it's,
all this time it's restraint, isn't it? But as soon as you get it back, you can see how the desire just bombs.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what modern culture does to you. They want your eyeballs on their stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really the realm of Indriya Samvara,
Yeah.
sense restraint. So when we think sense restraint, well, we don't eat too many cakes and we don't whatever. But Indriya Samvara is very, very difficult around social media and the internet because it's designed to distract you and it's designed to stimulate your love of objects. So when you take the paradigm with a model of foreground and background, you can see how constantly scrolling through a cell phone is just taking you into the foreground, taking you away from Nibbana, taking you into the world. So like we have a Sunday meditation here, and I haven't noticed. I close my eyes when I'm teaching, but someone, I think Curtis, you told us, didn't you, that the cell phones are, no, it's someone else. I didn't blame you on this. Everyone knows. So apparently some people are meditating and they flip up their cell phone every 5 seconds to look and scroll through. And I said, that's pathetic. That's absolutely pathetic. But it's how addicted people are. They can't sit still for 5 minutes. So now we have to put up signs or get the cell phone police on the case. I'm not sure what we'll do, but it is a very good model of what happens in samsara. It's not just about cell phones, it's the mind going outside is the cause. The result of the mind going outside is suffering. And the mind knowing the mind is the path. And the result of the mind knowing the mind is the end of suffering. And the cell phone is a very good model of that, how that works. Of course, most of it is in thought. We worry or we fantasize or we have opinions and views and all of that. So it's really about Indriya Samvara. That's what it's about, sense restraint. And it's a cultural challenge, especially for contemplatives. It's not an easy thing.
Because it's addiction too, isn't it? One thing.
Exactly, yeah.
A
So just
very strong kama tanha.
throw it in the bathtub.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good luck on that. Yes,
Thank you. Hui Lei?
Hule, hello.
Hello, hi Ajahn. Thank you for
Hi,
the
Hule.
talk. I'm just following up from some of the bits of pieces that I've picked up from Longpor's talk today and from the questions today as well. So in terms of Longpor's teaching on background and foreground, I heard about a kind of analogy, like, one has to step out of the river to see the river instead of, being in the river. So so since hearing that, and whenever, thanks to Sister Bida for the Dhamma Zoom, whenever I hear, teachers, Ajahns, give a guided meditation and say, go to awareness. And it was so quick that, you could just step out and to the background and see, just wait. And so I suffer anxiety as well, and my heart was beating before, as I raised my question. And
Very courageous.
I stepped back, and then I watched the heart beating and wait, as Ajahn say, wait for the beating to go away, and it has gone away. So but Ajahn, that's the doubt though, that like Luang Por says, about the simplicity of it. So could you guide, because there's always doubt, like, yeah, could it be
It
that
is.
simple?
Yeah, could it be that simple? Well, you just have to take it from an old guy like me. It is. I'm sorry. It does work. And Lompo, you hear Lompo Samedo saying it does work. Trust, 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 trust. But so why do when the doubts come up and she does, is it really that simple? Why don't you just well, I'll trust it for the next year, right? So you kind of, okay, let's just do an experiment. Let's see if it does work. I'll trust it for you. So when the doubting mind comes up, well, is it really, well, awareness, this is what doubt feels like. The thing about doubt is that doubt will always create, I mean, doubt is a sneak, it's the coyote. It just sneaks around and gets in your head, and you think you're so clever and it's got you. That's the doubt work. So somehow in the doubting mind, you have to be able to say doubt is like this. Now, again, we use doubt to solve problems. That's the problem to some extent. But like in meditation, if that's what your mind's doing, I need to do this, and oh, doubt feels this way. So in terms of foreground and background, your challenge is to see the doubt itself as foreground. And usually that's where your feet are stuck in the mud of the stream. And you're just in the water. So that's the real challenge of thought and intellect and so on. But if you can bring up the language, trust and awareness, when the mind starts thinking, there's trust and awareness. Hopefully you'll at least inquire as to what awareness is. It's not thought. And that the inquiry won't be analytical, but it'll be existential, experiential, say. What is the experience of awareness? That's what you want to return to again and again. If you can get some language to remind you in your own way about the awakened mind, and put notes on your fridge, notes by your computer, stuff like that, like what do you call a photo on your iPhone? When you have the image, what's it called? Yeah, your home screen. Make your home screen awaken or something like that. Like do stuff to keep reminding you of that, because it's so simple. But the mind is very complex, and the habits of anxiety, like anxiety. I think it took me about 20 years to really resolve anxiety. Not that I was a basket case and I could function. I could still, I could perform my duties, but just the kind of visceral stuff that would come up, totally unrelated to anything really useful or logical. But I was determined. I said, well, okay, it feels, and then I just keep welcoming it. And I realize now that it was what I had to do for purification. So then the sense of welcoming something you don't want is very important. You start to get a different language. Oh no, there's fear again. Oh no, trust and awareness, welcome. You can stay. That kind of language with it. That was a very helpful attitudes to keep remembering. And then you lose the plot and it'll fall apart. That's fine. and you'll resurface again, and you just start up with the same thing again. Okay?
Thank you
I
so
mean,
much.
really, what else is there? What else is there to do? Does there anything else make sense? You could just distract for the rest of your life, but you're here. You probably can't do it anymore. You tried that before. I did. So your only choice, like I said, is enlightenment.
Thank you, Long Paul. Thank you so much. There's so much teaching in there. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay.
No, for
Anita and
this,
Sakit.
yeah, there's just one last question. Are you all right with time?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Long Paul, for the
Anita.
guidance. Hello. Thank you so much for the
Okay.
teaching, Ajahn. I was thinking about the Vibhava Tanha and Bhava Tanha that you explained, and it thought occurred to me like a few days ago I was angry, like something caused anger in me, and I was aware of it. Like I can see that anger is like this, but it was there on my face. So my husband was like, "Oh, you seem angry," and I was like, "Yeah, I am, but don't worry, I will not pick it up on you." Which I am aware of it, but I will not pick it up on you. I could I could sense all this, but I was not able to control my expression, and that caused. I kept wondering, is there something that I can do about that, or I should just leave it and let it take its time and calm down and
Yeah,
like what should I do in that situation?
if Sakit says something, just say that's your problem. Because like one of the things at a monastery is we kind of have a deal that if someone's in a bad mood, they're allowed to be in a bad mood. Rather than cheer up, life is fun. Kind of let the person be in their bad mood, let them learn about it rather than feel either intimidated by their bad mood or think you have to, make them happy. No, you're in a bad mood, work with it, but make sure you come to meditation and make sure you don't abuse us and fulfill your duties. I mean, we're very kind actually, but yeah, there's a kind of danger of not allowing people to feel deeply negative states that prevents liberation. I think that's one of the social problems we might have is that you have to perform for everyone. So if you get stuck into a person that is always charming and you're actually not feeling very charming, you're stuck into after playing a role and you have to suppress that, right? So facial expressions are allowed. There's nothing in the 5 precepts which says the 10th precept is I shall have a beautiful facial expression for my husband at all times. It's not in the books. You're okay. Because it's obviously impossible, isn't it? It's impossible. So that, I think in relationships where you're living close together is to allow the person to learn about what they're going through. I know for myself, being a senior monk, if something, I don't get too much difficult negative material, but it does come up sometimes. Recently, we had some Sangha complexities, which kind of confused me. So then if I feel quite confused, I just need to be alone. And my face will change. And the monks will say, "Oh, what's up with the boss?" And I don't feel I need to explain it to anyone. It's your problem. I have to deal with this right now. And if you've got a problem with me being quiet, well, then just tough. So I'm not here to entertain you and make you happy. But I know I need to be alone with it because of that tendency of always having to be a certain kind of person. Generally, I'm very genial and quite cheerful and kind kind of guy. But when I'm feeling something and I know I have to look at it, I need to be alone. Unfortunately, my life allows that. And then I just stay with it. I don't try to fix it. I say, yeah, be with that. This is important. Walk up and down. And if I don't show up for lunch, these guys, these good brothers of mine will bring me lunch. But then it's really valuable material for me. Very valuable. Now, if everyone's around me saying, cheer up, Bante, cheer up. You look sad. Here, have another ice cream. I that wouldn't be very helpful, actually. And the monks are very good. They say, okay, he's working on something. How can we help you be alone? How can we help you actually witness this now, rather than you shouldn't be feeling this now? And that's the contract in monastic life, that we're allowed to feel. And yet we have to fulfill our duties. We have to show up and so on. So facial expressions are allowed. Now I could see at work, like if you're working, say, for the embassy, and you are a public face, you're going to have to put on a happy face, right? And then you're going to have to go home and be able not to have to put on a happy face and actually be with what happened at work, because that's very important to actually feel anger or feel fear or feel depressed or feel rage. These are okay things. They're very important things, and you can do it in this way of awareness. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Ajahn. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Beta, shall we do our chanting?
Yes, please, Long Paul. We shall do the Buddha's words on loving kindness, Long Paul.
Okay. I'll lead it if you put on the, yeah. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease, and let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by no holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one having clarity of vision, being free from sense desires, is not born again into this world.
Thank you so much, Long Paul, for a very beautiful and powerful session today.
Okay, Bita, thank you.
So we'd like to invite everyone to join me in now paying respects to Long Paul to take leave from Long Paul by chanting the closing homage. Aham
Amma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipannuva Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghaṃ Namami. Okay.
Thank you, Long Paul.
Night. Ciao.
Bye.
See you next time. Bye-bye.